welcome. It is Friday. I've got another brilliant and interesting guest to ask some weird and wonderful questions. I suppose, please introduce yourself and tell us everything about yourself.
Good evening. Hello. As the caption says, I guess Disco of raskoanddisco beer review. I won't tell everything because surely that's what all the questions are about. But a little beer review channel here on YouTube. We're mostly on. We sort of went over to Instagram. We tend to do more stuff on Instagram. We do a live Saturday night. Myself and my colleague Rasko, who's not here tonight, although he might be he might be watching along in the comments a bit later. We started the channel in 2018 on YouTube. Like I say, we've sort of gravitated a little bit more towards Instagram for the lives. But we've got a few videos up, and we always put our Instagram lives on YouTube the following week in case anybody wants to catch up with it, look in, whatever.
So how did it really start then? How did this making videos and putting them up?
We started in, like I say, 2018. Rasko had been... there he is. Good man. Yeah, so I think Rasko had been thinking about it for a while and encouraged by a guy we refer to as the "and" in Raskoanddisco, is our man Jim, the cameraman. He sort of convinced him. He'd seen a few beer reviews and said, well, you guys talk about beer all the time. You do a lot of that stuff. You go to a lot of beer festivals. You could do that. So Rasko said, let's run with it. He pointed his phone camera in my face at Great British Beer Festival in Olympia in 2018, said, talk about beer. So we did, done a video pretty much. I think it was one take. Rasko started a channel on YouTube, bunged it up, started us off on Twitter. And for a while I was doing beer reviews on Twitter, which was kind of good because it meant you just kind of got the basic information. It stopped like waffling, which I might do a lot tonight in answering these questions. But so if I'm waffling, Thomas, feel free to stop me, you know.
No.
But yeah, so I did it on Twitter. Then Rasko put us onto Instagram. So we started doing it on Instagram, and somehow we ended up with nearly 700 followers on Instagram, which again may or may not be a lot, but it was quite a lot for us that people have bothered to follow. And like I say, we've been doing the lives for, I think we're on show 68, so it's almost one a week. Mostly so me and Rasko could catch up and chat about beer, and a few people followed along. So thanks to everybody for watching.
I'm surprised that you said you started on Twitter and you didn't move over to Periscope, which kind of people on Twitter did. That Periscope came out, and the two, Twitter and Periscope, interacted pretty well, especially around that period, 2018.
I think we was aware of Periscope, but we weren't into really doing lives at that point because for the first year or so it was really just like a way of me and Rasko meeting up at beer festivals. We was reviewing beer festivals, pubs. We weren't really doing like direct like piece to camera beer reviews like a lot of people do. So we weren't really doing the live stuff. It wasn't until we got into like lockdown and we sort of I'd been, doing just written beer reviews on Instagram, and we just sort of said, well, we could either do it on YouTube and go live because we'd seen a few people go live, and we ended up doing it on Instagram and sort of stuck with it. And we want to come across and do some lives on YouTube, but we've sort of just 60 odd weeks stuck on Instagram. But we never got into Periscope. Anyway,
I just wondered about that when you said about Twitter. So, what was your journey with beer? So, were you always kind of trying different beers, or what were you drinking? What was you into this? I hate saying the word craft, but different beer. Was there a good beer or whatever?
Yeah, I sort of avoid the word craft. I was always very highly critical of craft in the early days. Me and Rasko have been drinking together for forever, really, since just before it was legal for him to do so. Just in the pubs where we grew up in northwest London, there's not that many. There was a lot of pubs, but none of them were that great, if you know what I mean. They were just lovely old pubs, but they were just mainstream lagers and John Smiths. So we started drinking probably John Smiths. We learnt to drink in our local social club that was run by the Scouts. We was the only Scout district in London, I think, to have a licensed bar at our headquarters, which was kind of handy. We kind of enjoyed that, so we spent a lot of time drinking there. And Yeah, shock. We'll come on to that later. Disco loves his smoke beers, as does Rasko. Well, we didn't find them to start off with. We was very much in like real ale to start off with, because we was in pubs, went into the dreaded W word, into Weatherspoons. We had a lot of Weatherspoons open up around in our area, so that was a nice cheap drink. And we'd find that like we'd start off on all like the old like traditional stuff like Rudgate Ruby Mild and Nevergate Old Growler and stuff like that when they had their beer festivals. And then, going to beer festivals like Canberra beer festivals like St Albans and Great British Beer Festival at Olympia just sort of expanded the knowledge and enjoyment of beers. And that sort of just naturally fell into crack because we was joining Twitter just to find more breweries and more beers. And then as I fell into the trying to do beer review. Or it wasn't beer reviews, it was more reviews of festivals and pubs and bars and a little bit of beer reviews as well.
Okay, I suppose my next question would move on. What was your first beer?
I think the first beer I remember drinking was probably up the social club. So I would have been about, 16 probably, because we were sort of kind of well in with the organizer. We worked the bar occasionally. But I remember drinking, it was a beer called Webster's Best Bitter, and it was about 68p a pint. So that shows how old I am, as to how even in social clubs that was pretty cheap at the time, So I don't remember it. It was just a standard Best Bitter, cheap.
Yeah.
But in pubs it was probably John Smith's just before it went to Smooth Flow. I'm sure it was John Smith's Best or something like that, and then it went to Smooth Flow and obviously lost a bit of quality and whatever. But
and have these social clubs died out in England now, or are they still kind of going in certain areas?
Certain areas have them. Our one, unfortunately, passed on due to the council inadequacies and repair bills and stuff. But there is one actually. It's sort of, thinking about it, now you say that, it's probably sort of passed on to. There's a lot of like working men's clubs about, and kind of services clubs, like the British Legion and stuff like that. And even to a certain extent, there's a lot of what we call Irish bars, obviously what you call bars, that are sort of kind of like that community kind of thing in a lot of places. And obviously there's quite a big Irish community in northwest London here, so there's quite a lot of those spread across the area.
Yeah, and do you think that's a kind of a sad part, or do you think that's just the way things move on?
Yes, to a certain extent, it is the way. I guess it is the way things move on, and it is quite sad, because it was a vital part of our drinking journey. Really, drinking cheap beer, half decent beer, and then you've got that sort of sense of community, and everybody knows each other, and it's just. It's a good way of passing time, and a good way of learning about beer. But there is also loads of other stuff out there. So things move on, things change, rightly or wrongly. I don't know.
Hi, Brian. So go-to style then. You're talking about the smoke beers there. What's your go-to style in a beer?
Free beer. But I don't get much of that, so I have to buy most of it myself. I don't particularly have one. I'd say, coming from the real ale background originally, I probably gravitate slightly more towards porters and stouts and milds. I prefer the darker beers, just because I've always preferred the kind of maltier base. I'm not a big fan of like hoppy beers, hoppy pale ales. Mostly because, again, growing up, they were all probably Citra based, and I, as a kid, I hated grapefruit, so I don't like Citra, so I don't like hoppy beers that much. I'd say my palate's changed recently, so I can take a hoppier beer a little bit more now. But like when I was younger, it just tasted like dirt to me. So generally gravitate towards the darker beers. Even in lagers, I prefer a dark lager, like a Dunkel or something. Smoked beers are, because smoked beers tend to be kind of darker, so they're not necessarily a go-to style, but I'll always try one.
Okay. And then getting onto your can collection behind you.
That's just laziness, not throwing them away.
What do you think of can art then? Does that attract you?
It does. Oddly, I didn't think it would. And initially, like with, you say, craft beer, when I first started being aware of a lot of craft brewers, I saw the can art as being sort of symptomatic of craft, really. It was kind of overproduced, overhopped, and I preferred the plainer, more standard styles of real ale. But these days, I mean, there's just so much of it. I don't even know which one to point out first, but I keep them as a backdrop just for doing the lives and stuff, because it's better than a plain backdrop. Otherwise, the bar's just sort of plain brown, really. But yeah, I keep some of the more memorable ones, some of the brighter ones, maybe. I keep all the ones with disco in the name because that's a bizarre thing that amuses me.
Okay. What's your favorite hat? Because Rasko is good with a good question. Your favorite hat?
My favorite hat.
Yeah.
I just a standard woolly kind of beanie, no bobbles, just a straight woolen hat that kind of sits and keeps my hair in place, because I mostly wear hats because my hair's all over the place. I've got too much hair, and I can't be asked to pay to get it cut.
I'm sure Rasko will come over and cut it for you free of charge.
Really fucking heckers like. He would want to, and I wouldn't let him. Listen, I thought I'd go with something. I thought I'd go with something relevant. I've got a bit of Whiplash.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
A Disco Mystic, nice little double IPA for you.
Yeah. Sure, Whiplash are always a good brewery, constant with their IPAs. Yeah, we'll go through the questions or comments. I suppose the next one is favorite brewery, if you have one.
Again, a very tough question because I haven't tried them all yet.
No.
I'm still trying. But I suppose to answer that question properly, like, I guess there's a lot that I've had a lot of beers from, certainly in the last couple of years. Every year, like Christmas, me and Rasko do like the Rasko and Disco Beer Awards. So we're very rarely likely to agree. So we both separately choose a beer of the year and a brewery of the year. So we're thinking about that at the moment coming up. But my brewery last year was a brewery called Brass Castle.
Okay.
Got a t-shirt there. Up in Yorkshire. I always forget which way around the mirror camera goes. Brass Castle up in Yorkshire. They had a lot of decent beers from them. They do a lot of traditional beers, but also they do a lot of random adjuncts. They'll just chuck, like, I had one with seaweed. I had one with samphire. They do one with, like, well, at the moment it's almonds and figs and stuff. So they do traditional, but they also good at doing a lot of random adjuncts as well.
Okay. I suppose then you're talking about beer festivals and you go to a lot of them. Yeah. If you were to suggest one beer festival for me to go to, if I was going to, was it England or UK, which one would be the best? I know things with COVID had changed.
Yeah.
Which festival?
I guess if you're gonna come across just for a beer festival, you might as well go big or go home. Yeah. So you might as well come into London in August and go to the Great British Beer Festival, because it has its critics, but it's the best in terms of sheer numbers of beer and diversity of beer, to be fair. Okay. It's like a massive exhibition hall. I don't know if you heard of Olympia, but it's a massive exhibition hall. I don't even know how many beers there are, but there's about 8-9 different bars, plus an American bar, plus a can bar, loads of food, and there's just thousands of people there. I know Rasko will point out, what about Ealing? Ealing is much smaller. It's in the summer, it's outdoors, just as good, to be fair. If you're coming across, go to Ealing or any of the Canberra beer festivals, really. I'm a bit more, not cynical, but I think a beer festival is a beer festival. Pretty much doesn't matter which one you go to. They're always going to have a good selection. Well, they're usually going to have a good selection of beers. That's the whole point of them. They're probably going to be good beers, because they don't want to be selling crap. Yeah. So pretty much anyone you go to, you're bound to find a beer that you like. You're bound to find a beer that you hate, but you've got a lot of options. and you're bound to be able to find somebody to chat to about beer because that's what everybody's there for. So, yeah, we always go on about Ealing, and we go on about Olympia, the Great British Beer Festival.
And can I ask about Ealing? You said it's outdoors. Whereabouts is it? Is it in London City or?
Yeah, so Ealing is in West London.
Yeah.
So it's a big park. It's in Walpole Park. They put up a massive marquee. It's probably several marquees joined together, to be fair, in an L shape. It's got to be several hundred yards long. There's got to be probably 100, 200 breweries there. Okay. So again, plenty of choice. As long as the weather's good, just stand in the park having a beer. It's a 5-day festival, so a 4-day festival, so you've got plenty of options. We always tend to go 3, 4, 5 days because there's so much there.
I guess then if I wasn't coming to a festival, if I was coming to a city, I suppose you suggest London then over Manchester or Leeds or somewhere like that.
Well, do you know what? Somebody asked this on Crumby's live earlier, and I slightly tongue-in-cheek, I said the best city for a beer is the beer that you happen to be in, because you'll always find a beer somewhere. And like all those ones you've just mentioned, oh, brilliant. I've been for a beer in all of them. But there's so much, especially now, there's so much good breweries in most of the cities. Like you say, Bristol, Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, Norwich. Somebody said Norwich earlier. But yeah, London, I have to say London as a born and bred Londoner, I suppose I've got to promote, but I'm always happy to get out of London because there's so much good stuff north and south, east and west.
Okay. Always a hard question to ask. Are you happy?
Right now, actually, yes, I am.
Okay. Well,
generally not so much, but right now, yeah.
Okay. Can I ask you why? That's an interesting answer.
I think why I'm happy right now is because I'm not thinking about why I'm happy. I'm just doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have it so tough. I tend to find I go up and down. I know Steve talks a lot about mental health and stuff like that, and I tend not to talk about mental health and stuff like that. But sometimes I just feel shit. So I deal with it. I deal with it by waiting until I'm happy. That's how I deal with it.
Next question's not going to get any easier then.
Do I wake up happy or sad? I wake up most mornings thinking, oh, fuck, here we go again. Mostly because I'm terrible at mornings and I want to carry on sleeping because I'm terrible at going to bed at night. So I'm always fairly tired in the morning. And even since I was a kid, I was always the last one in the class at school because I was terrible at getting up, getting out and stuff like that. So most of the time, I wouldn't say sad. It's just sort of meh.
Can I ask about school then? Did you have a nice school experience or just school was school?
On the whole, I would say I probably quite enjoyed it. I think on the whole, it was pretty good. I didn't have too much, comparatively speaking. I didn't have too much. I mean, I was in quite a rough year. My year group was always in trouble, even from like middle school. So I didn't have that much problems. I wasn't particularly a troublemaker. I had a good group of friends, especially in early school, and in high school. Growing up, I suppose I had a good little group of friends. We all used to hang out together, and nobody bothered us too much. To be fair, I was never one of the cool kids. I've never been one of the cool kids, but I wasn't like so geeky. I was picked on. I was sort of like that mid-range kind of neither one thing or the other, like the coolest of the uncool kids kind of thing. Which
yeah, I get you. What about after school? Did you go straight into work? Or
so I went to college. More for something to do than anything else because I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no particular vocation or I'd loads of interest, but nothing that lent itself to work in any particular way. So I just went to college and done a broad base of subjects that most of which interest me. Like I did geography. I did love geography because I love traveling about the place. And then I just went down the job centre, found a management training job. I worked in a builder's merchants. So went straight out to work. I didn't bother with university. I had offers. I was kind of done with that learning because, again, I'm not that good at that regimentation that you need for learning and stuff. It would have been fun going to university probably, but I wanted to stay around here, and I found a job, and it was okay. It wasn't terrible. It was good money, so I did that.
Okay. Do you have any regrets not going to college then when you look back?
On the whole, probably not. I'd probably be still in the same place as I am today. What I do say is I don't regret not going to university because I went to everybody else's universities. So I say I went to university at York, I went to university in Middlesbrough, I went to university of Bangor, went to university in Plymouth, because I was just visiting all my mates who went to university. And I had a great time because I didn't have to do any of the learning stuff, and I'd still go out on the sauce, and I had the money getting paid. I had the money to go and buy them a few beers and go out in the town. So at student prices, it was great.
Yeah, okay. I suppose the most important person in your life.
I think that's one of the questions I would have swerved if I thought about it. I won't swerve it. I mean, I suppose I should say Rasko, but that would be a blatant lie. I will say the lovely Sarah, and I will say no more.
Okay. What's the meaning of life?
To drive your enemies before you and hear the lamentations of their women, which is a quote from a book. I think it's a bastardized film quote, but it's a quote from a book by the author John Niven.
Okay, so can you answer the question without plagiarizing someone else?
Yeah, so the proper question is, I don't know. I don't think we found it yet. I think the general meaning of life is just to enjoy it, to sustain life, to grow, learn, and enjoy. I would say I take quite a philosophical look on that one. It is just is there to be enjoyed.
Last time you cried?
I don't think, genuinely as an adult, I don't think I've physically cried. I think I've come close. Sometimes I get oddly emotional that feels like crying but doesn't. I think the last time, probably going to get a bit serious and deep now actually, because genuinely the last time was quite recently, a couple of months ago. I don't know if it made the news in Ireland, but last summer, there was quite a well publicised in London anyway. It was a double murder. Two sisters, half sisters, were stabbed in a park in northwest London, and one of them, a younger one, worked in my local pub, so I knew her. She worked up in the castle here in Harrow, and I didn't know at the time. I used to speak to her every week at pub quiz. I didn't know at the time, but her mother was my former school teacher. He taught me GCSE drama, and her mum Mina has been on the news quite a lot in the last 8 months because they got the guy for it, put him in, guilty, banged to rights in prison. So she's been quite vocal about the justice system and the police handling of it. And because it was quite personal, I felt quite emotional when I see her on the TV talking about the death of her daughter and somebody I knew, and because I knew the mother, knew Mina. I'd say that was the closest I got to shedding a tear, and it was definitely a metaphorical tear.
You think there's some reason why you don't cry?
I'm a cold, heartless bastard, really. I just hide it well.
Do you think it's because of the time period you grew up in? Yeah, to a certain extent. I suppose, I don't know, maybe I equate crying with sadness, and I try not to be sad. I do try to be happy. So I like ways of dealing with sadness are just,
get through it or try and do something else to not think about it and be happy. Maybe that's why I didn't even think about that, Thomas. That's quite a good question. I didn't think why I wouldn't. I just don't really.
What do you think? You might be bottling that up inside. And
oh yeah.
It might come out.
Yeah. Quiet. Yeah, probably. And that's probably some kind of latent masculine thing. Trying to be more manly. I suppose. Blokes don't cry, but it is okay if you do. But I just don't.
Okay. The lowest point of your life. If you want to answer it, you don't have to.
Probably to break up. Probably when I split up with my first girlfriend. I do remember feeling pretty low then because it was the first time. It was all new, and you thought it'd be you get mugged into this. Oh, it'll be lovely forever, the happy ever after thing. I mean, we weren't serious. I was like, what, 21? I was fairly serious, I suppose. It was 3 years, and I think that was probably quite low. Again, I tried not to be. I got through it with work and stuff like that, and my mates and that. And fortunately, we're still friends now. To this day, I went to a wedding, so and we are still friends now. So it kind of works out okay, really. But it did feel pretty low at the time.
Okay. What makes you angry?
I get really angry about pointlessly minuscule things that other people would just not notice or care about or don't seem to. I get, and again, there's reasons and issues there, mental health side of things, like bad parking, people parking on the pavement. It doesn't affect or concern me necessarily, but I get really angry about it because they're breaking the rules. And fly tipping. People just, there's a road around the corner from me, and every day this week there's been something else added to the little pile of junk by the alleyway. And it's just, I think it's like I wouldn't ever dare do something like that for fear of getting caught and punished. I like to stay fairly on the right side of the law. It's just easier. There's less paperwork and less fines. So to have somebody else do that, and round here, and that's not the only place around here. It's just laziness. I mean, sure, there's geopolitical kind of reasons for it, like closing the local dump and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of small things make me angry for no apparent reason. Generally, and there's quite a lot of them as well.
And you think that's because of the area you come from, then, the parking the pavement, people dumping rubbish?
No, I think it's just the people involved. I think it's just their laziness, their selfishness, and their "I'm all right, Jack. I don't give a stuff about anybody elseness." I think
someone else's problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one's a weird question. Favorite smell?
Favorite smell? That's not weird. That's a great question. I mean, I would probably say there's a trio probably of bacon cooking, bacon or bread cooking, one of the two, freshly cut grass, and apple scented perfume.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
Apple. Well, you have to follow that one up though. Apple.
Well, I would have thought it's obvious. Bacon's lovely. Everybody likes bacon, apart from people who don't eat bacon. Oh, you want to mean apple perfume? Yeah. A couple of girlfriends have worn apple scented perfume. I don't know.
Doesn't feel okay.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I got an old apple tree in the garden here that's God knows how many. So I'm not a massive fan of apples, but I do eat them, and I suppose I do quite like the smell. I don't know whether that's where it comes from or whatever, but I couldn't tell you what the perfume is. I've no idea, but it's just sort of a smell I remember. And I've only just thought of that as you've asked it, actually. I don't know.
Next question. I think you've kind of answered this before, but your first alcoholic drink, or first what age were you when you had the first drink? Was it if it was only a sip? Was it of your dad's or your uncle's or whoever your mum's bottle at home?
4. I think it was 4, maybe 5. I have this reoccurring memory that I may have embellished over the years because that's how our memories work and stuff. But I have this strong recollection of a family party or gathering about the age of 4 or 5, and there was a bunch of menfolk, definitely including my dad, possibly my granddad, and a couple of like uncles or cousins or whatever, standing around the fridge in the kitchen of my parents' house, which is still there. I stood in front of it not a couple of hours ago, and they were drinking. I'm sure they, do you have stubbies, like those little kind of stubby bottles of like, and I'm sure they used to drink brown ale or my granddad used to drink light and bitter, so he'd have like a lot of pale ale, a light ale on a bit. And I remember them getting out of the fridge, and I have this vague recollection of just saying, "Oh, can I try some?" And they're like, "No, you won't like it. It's beer. It's for the adults." "Oh no, go on, I'll try. I'd like to. You like it, like that." And so somebody handed me a bottle, and I remember taking a sip, and it was the foulest liquid I'd ever put in my mouth. Bear in mind, I was 4 or 5 at that point. And I looked up at them, and they went, "Oh, do you like it?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, really nice." They went, "Oh, do you want some more?" "Nah, it's all right. No, thank you." I've obviously embellished that as an adult, but that's how I remember it happening.
Can I ask you how you viewed the memory? Is it an overview, or are you viewing it through first person?
Yeah, kind of through first person, I suppose. Yeah, I have this sort of vague memory of just looking up at people. I was obviously quite small, so adults were quite tall. So.
Because if it's an overview, it's not a memory. If it's through first person, it's probably a memory then. That's the way.
Right.
Okay. That's my psychology part of when I was in college.
Okay. I see that. Yeah.
That's that part. Have you been arrested?
Not yet. No. Hopefully.
Oh, hopefully not. I thought you would be the one person who said yes.
No, I've had a few words with policemen. I say I've been pulled over for driving issues once or twice, but they didn't have any cameras, so they couldn't prove it. So I didn't do it. No arrests, nothing like that.
Heavy on the left foot, I guess. Then.
What was that? Sorry.
Heavy on the left foot, so accelerator kind of goes sticks down.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, because I'm always late for work. See, so I'm terrible at getting up in the morning, so I'm always late for work. And it was both times. It was in the morning.
I think we kind of asked this before. Philosophy on life. What's your philosophy on life? And a real answer, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. No. Yeah. I think, as I've said, really, enjoy it. I used to say live every day a night at a time when I was out drinking and that, but it is like that. It's just be nice. Just be nice to people. Just make friends, have fun, enjoy it. Sure, work hard if you can and that, but my philosophy is just enjoy it as best you can.
Okay. What's God's plan for you?
Which God? Which God, Thomas?
The one at your left shoulder now.
Well, this world has many gods, and I don't necessarily think that any of them necessarily have any kind of plan, because they're all imaginary, made-up things to control people. Why am I suddenly massive on the screen, Thomas? Is that some kind of philosophy way of saying this is God's plan? So, if you're just joining us, welcome to Thomas Windows Beer Reviews. Took me a while.
Copy and pasting things. Yeah, so you're going on that you go to church and mosque 7 times a day. So what's next?
Yeah, I don't think there is a plan. I think it's for everybody just to make their own way in the world and hope for the best.
Okay. So next one is this one. What inspires you?
What inspires me? I don't know. I find that one quite difficult, not because it's a difficult question, but I don't necessarily work that way. But like, yeah, I mean, inspired by other people doing good stuff so that I can do good stuff. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, inspiration is a difficult one because again, like as I say, if I'm just sort of trying to get by, trying to get through, and trying to enjoy it, I don't think I have anything particularly that inspires me. That's a strange question a strange answer to what I find a strange question, because I don't think I have that. I don't have that way of looking at other people and going, that inspires me particularly. I just do what I do, I think.
Okay. Would you find... yeah, I think we'll move on to another question. I'll ask the next one. What's the most illegal thing most thing you'd be ashamed that you looked up on the internet?
Ashamed of looking on the internet? Ashamed of looking up?
We can go into the blue section if you want.
Yeah, no, I'm not ashamed, I don't think, of looking up anything. Oh, I tell you what. For a question that may come up later, I suppose I'm slightly ashamed of looking up the members of the band McFly this afternoon.
Can I ask why?
Well, you might if the question comes up later. If not, I'll tell you at the end.
Okay. Have you overcome any bad habits?
No, I'm terrible at bad habits. I've got too many. I did a while back, like about 10, 15 years ago, I did get to a point where I thought I'm putting on too much weight here and this is not helpful. I was playing football and I was eating too many pies as well as the drinking and stuff. And I suppose I did manage to rein back, like, wean myself onto Diet Coke rather than the full fat, and not eat so many pies at lunchtime because the food van come around and stuff like that. But no, I'm pretty bad at bad habits, and I'm not good at, like, I tried to get more exercise in lockdown, and I went out for, I've never been any good at running, so I always I can go for a long walk. I can walk for hours. So I did that, and it's like, you've got to do it every day for a regular amount of time. And I get to one day and I say, I can't be bothered now, and I just stop. So I'm terrible at bad habits. I don't think I've overcome any. I've stopped spending so much money on the lottery in the last 5-10 years. I used to probably play every lottery going, just put a couple of quid on it. But yeah, I'm pretty bad at it.
Was it only the lottery, or did you gamble on horses or other things?
No, see, I've never got into gambling really. Mostly because I've never understood it with the odds and stuff like that. I do a free one on the phone that comes from ITV, and I just basically, anytime I go like to the horses or to the dogs, which is not often, I will put like a couple of quid on here and there if I can afford it or whatever. And I don't understand odds and going and stuff like that, so I'll basically choose by colours, horse name, and occasionally the jockey. Yeah, it's a good away as any, probably. And the last time I think I went to the horses was probably about 6 years ago. It was in Worcester, and I think I put like a £5 on the first race, and it come in, and I got like 40 quid or something. And I'm like, I'll put that in my pocket, like that'll do. I'm not going to get any better than that. I think I put the 40 quid back on, so I was kind of evens, but I wouldn't go big or anything like that.
Okay. How many times a day do you check yourself in the mirror?
I don't think I do. I'm not particularly vain or appearance bothered. As you can tell, I'm not really bothered by my appearance. I don't think I do. I mean, there's a mirror on the wall by the bed, so when I get up, I might occasionally glance in it, I guess. Yeah, and there's one down here over the far side of the room, and very rarely, I think.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. Probably what I do. I've got a really daft cat that stays with me, and she likes to jump on the shoulder. I don't know why. She has this bizarre thing of sitting on my shoulders, so I'm sort of petting her from behind like that, and it's really awkward. So sometimes I'll stand there in front of the mirror so I can see where her head is and where she's like responding to that. That's about as much as I look in the mirror on a daily basis, really.
Okay. Would you take other people's advice, even if you don't ask for it? And I'm going to get another drink.
Cool. I don't mind taking advice, particularly if I don't know about a subject or something. I don't mind asking for advice. I do get another one of the things I get slightly annoyed about is when people offer advice that either I don't need or, unsolicited, particularly when I don't need that advice. I've already done that thing or whatever. That's sort of a little bit of an annoyance that I get. But yeah, no, I think I'm generally pretty good at taking advice or asking for advice.
Okay, and you said you get a bit annoyed if someone gives you, if you've done something wrong, you say, well, sure, I've done it now, I didn't know it before. And they're kind of going in hindsight.
Yeah, I mean, if they offer advice that I haven't thought of something or whatever, it is quite a good feeling. It's, okay, yeah, fair enough, I'll take that. That's good. Hindsight, yeah, I beat myself up about hindsight all the time. I probably should have listened to various things over the course of my life and didn't, but hey ho.
Yeah, what can you do?
What can you do? Yeah.
Do you remember your first? I'm going to put down as paycheck. Was say your first job or what? When you first time got money for working, and how much was it, and what did you spend it on?
I remember. Yeah, no, I remember my first main paycheck. I did a paper round, and I did like a few like random odd jobs in my teens. Like I worked in the chip shop at the end of my road and stuff like that. But my first main paycheck that I got, like I say, when I come out after college at the builder's merchant, I think it was £794. And I only remember that because it was like 10 quid more than my best mate at the time, who had gone straight out to work rather than going to college, or rather went to day release or whatever. And then within 6 months, he got like a massive pay rise because he qualified as an engineer. So, but yeah, I remember the first paycheck. What I spent it on, probably I just went down the pub. I was just like, wow, I've got all this money. And I didn't have massive outgoings then either. Like that was before I'd got a car and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it seemed a lot of money then, but that soon went.
Yeah. Have you ever got instant buyer remorse?
Yeah, many times, because I worry too much quite often. I do. I'm terrible with money, so I do make snap buying decisions and then think I probably shouldn't have done that. Sometimes it turns out, I can't think of any specific example of that though, but probably beer. Sometimes I'm like, I shouldn't have just spent that money on that order, and then the beer turns up and I'm like, yeah, happy days. But
or you're after finishing that box of beer that you spent for say £40 or £50 and you're going to kind of go, really, was that £40 or £50 worth of?
Not really, no, because the way I buy beer, I mostly buy beer I think I'm going to like. I do because I don't know, sort of a lot of the beer I buy is with a mind to reviewing it, and I don't do enough beer reviews, so I've got too much beer. But I tend to buy beer that's either quite interesting to me or something I think I'm going to like. I don't tend to go for like random boxes and like selection boxes, because I know there's always going to be something in there I don't want. So I don't want to spend my money on something like that. So no, with beer, I'm quite pernicious like that.
Yeah, you always pick your own beer, because I think you'll always get something that you don't want, and even with that, there'll be something that you're a little bit disappointed in. But I don't get disappointed. It's like, oh well, it's just a chance you take, Have you ever eaten any exotic meats?
I have. I do like a good random food stuff. I was lucky enough to do the overseas trip thing. I was living and working in New Zealand, staying in New Zealand. And every February, there's a thing in the South Island where I was, luckily. We drove over. It's called the Hokitika Wild Food Festival. And so we drove overnight, rocked up, me and a couple of mates, got smashed in the pub beforehand. and I'd seen the menu kind of thing. And so I feasted on worm sushi, wasp larvae ice cream. I think I had a horse meat burger, but that's what they said it was. Whether it was or not, I don't know. It just tasted like burger to me. And I finished off with, in Australia they have the witchetty grubs that live in the rotting wood. They're like the big thing. Well, New Zealand they have a slightly smaller version called a hoo-hoo grub. And my mates all went and paid the $10 or whatever and said, "Here, Dave, you've got to eat this." And there's a video somewhere on Facebook if you can find it of me just standing with a little grub on my hand, like wiggling away, and I went, "Bye," and that's it. So I think, grub, random dead tree grub is my weirdest exotic.
And they probably just picked that grub from a tree.
Oh, no, they did. Yeah, literally, they dragged a dead tree in from the woods next door, split it open, and there was just all these grubs living in it, and they were just like selling them off like $10. Yeah, and people were just trying it. Bizarre.
Don't have to answer this question. How much money do you have in your bank account right now?
I have not a clue. I'm terrible with money, so I don't often check. I think the last time I looked at my savings account, there was like £1.94 in it because I'd spent all my fucking savings over lockdown. So, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, but not a lot.
Okay, at least you're honest. I have about 40 cents, so we're in the same boat. Are you planning to make any changes in the future?
I'm always planning to make changes, but I'm, again, great at making plans, but terrible at carrying them out because something else always comes up.
Okay, well, tell us some of the plans then. Come
on.
This time next year, you'll be a millionaire? Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's always the plan. Win the bloody lottery. That's the plan every week, but that's beyond my control. I've been planning to get this place done up, get the garden done, get the garden planted and grow some like veg and stuff in the garden. I'm lucky that I've got a big space in the garden that I can do that. So I got the old apple trees. So I've managed to harvest those and process the apples. But yeah, loads of stuff, just general life stuff, and I'm terrible at it. We shall see what happens.
Okay.
Phil, welcome back.
Welcome back, Phil. You missed. Disco gave out the numbers to the lotto at the weekend, so you're not going to win the lotto now. Most treasured memory.
I suppose, apart from that 4-year-old drinking story, I suppose it is drinking memories. It is just I always said I've got some of the best mates in the world. I've known them for a long time now, and just growing up and learning to drink with them in pubs. I remember, and Rasko's included in that, by the way. Just that memory, that first being so drunk, but not being out of control drunk. That just kind of that heady rush of the early days of either illicitly underage drinking or overage when I was allowed. Just that rush of being drunk but still just about in control.
Okay. I suppose next question has to be terrible memory.
My most terrible memory.
It's not really word 100% right, but you get
I guess it's probably dull, but I suppose it's the opposite of that previous one. It's just all those terrible hangovers that you have to suffer in your drinking journey when the room's spinning, you're out of control, and but I'll tell you the worst one. Yeah, the worst one is drinking in Germany. I'm not allowed to drink Jägermeister in Germany. I can drink Jägermeister here, but the 2 times I've done it in Germany, I've been so out of control and ill.
So
and I woke up. The one time I was out, and this fella, I was staying with this girl I'd met in New Zealand. She's a lovely girl, got on really well. So I went to visit her in Germany on the way back, and a brother-in-law, I think it was, or a brother, brother-in-law was he was, oh, you English, you can drink, yeah, have one of these. And I think it was Jägermeister. And the next thing I remember is waking up absolutely chundering all over the place. And then I vaguely remember waking up in the shower and just picking my stuff up, vaguely getting dressed and just leaving. And I just walked to the train station in like a disgrace. I didn't need to. I could have just gone back to sleep, but I was wired, absolutely wired. And then I realised I'd left my mobile phone and a very favourite T-shirt going around in the washer. Honestly, I tried to get the clothes out of the washer, woke the cats up, fed the cats in a completely like alien flat in this random town in Germany, Freiburg. Yeah, I had an 11 o'clock train out of Germany that day, and I sat for about 3 hours in the train station. I had a massive row with the guy in the toilets because I wanted to go and throw up in the toilets again. He wanted to charge me 20 cents or whatever. Yeah, I was terrible. That was terrible. And that was a horrific journey. I was going to Italy to see James. And that was a horrific journey all across. Didn't see nothing of Switzerland. So that was also a fun memory. Looking back, it was quite funny, but it was pretty terrible at the time.
Okay. I suppose next is, what do you want to be when you were small? Do you have any dreams to be police, army?
No. I don't know. I think when I was quite young, I do have this recollection of wanting to be a stuntman because I'd watch things like the Dukes of Hazzard and the A-Team, and I thought that driving would be quite fun. But then I realised, like, to be a stuntman, I did look at it briefly, but you have to I was terrified of heights as a kid. Couldn't do heights. I could never jump off anything. So that was that plan out the window. I would have liked to have done driving, like truck driving. I did say I wanted to be a truck driver, but I was, again, persuaded out of that fairly quickly, I think, by my parents wanting me to do something a bit more, boring, I suppose. I still could probably go and do the truck driving. I think it's quite on vogue at the moment, but
I think that anyone be a truck driver.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, there's quite a lot of money in it, apparently.
Yeah, it's a tough job, though, I think. Ghosts, do you believe in them?
I do not. I think there's some things, like phenomenon, that are kind of unexplained. I don't think they're ghosts. I genuinely believe if there were ghosts, I would probably know about it because my nan died in the corner of this room over there. So I would have thought she would have come back and done some haunting or something, maybe, if that was a thing. Maybe she died happy. I don't know how ghosts work, but yeah. No, I don't think ghosts are a thing.
My local stuntman.
My local stuntman wears a suit of armour and jumps over 13 buses on his bike. He's called Medieval Knievel. Slurpy Dave, good one, sir. I do love a good crap gag.
Yeah, are we alone?
I think we probably are for now. I think if there was anything else out there, we'd probably know about it. But I think for now we are.
Yeah, Slurpy's is talking to us, so he's here.
Well, yeah. Is he the only one? I haven't seen who's watching it.
There's three people seem to be watching this.
Oh, good people. I'm glad I haven't bored everybody.
Next one has to be, do you believe in aliens?
Well, if there is anything else out there, be it another galaxy or whatever, or people, then that would make us the aliens if we ever got there. So in theory, yes, I believe we're the aliens if there is anything else out there which is yet to be determined.
Okay. We'll go an easier question then. Drugs. That's the first question.
Drugs.
This drugs.
Oddly, despite appearances, I've never particularly got into drugs of any kind apart from alcohol. I've always too busy drinking to worry about drugs, recreational drugs anyway. It was one or two occasions, but I didn't really, as in when I was in, I suppose, teenager, but But yeah, it never really. I also didn't really move in them circles too much. I say there was 1 or 2 occasions when I was aware of it. Oh, there was that party with the space cakes. They were quite funny, but that was about the only time.
Okay. What do you think legalization of them then?
I think there's a strong argument for the legalization of some of them, certainly like marijuana or whatever. And I think I know a few people that would say that it should be. I don't think our legal system, certainly in the UK, is. I think that needs reform and stuff like that. So I don't think that's great anyway. So before we start legalizing stuff, we probably need to reform that. But yeah, probably some of them. It would make it easier, but I don't know enough about the subject, never really having delved into it. So
if I say the legalization of cocaine, you're going to vote tomorrow, referendum, legalize cocaine. In a government shop, you have to go in and get, I don't know, a doctor to say you can take it. I don't know what way.
Unless it was a compulsory referendum, I probably wouldn't vote on that because I don't know enough about it. I've never tried cocaine. And
what about marijuana
then? I think of anything that probably would be okay if it was legalized because it's seemingly substantially less harmful than some of the harder drugs. So I'm sure I would get lots of advice on that from certain people, and probably it would be okay.
Last time you were rejected?
Probably, I guess.
Okay, sorry. I'm back 1 minute.
Okay, probably last time I was rejected was, again, quite a dull answer, probably the numerous job applications I've made over the last 18 months and not heard back from one of them. So that's probably a rejection of sorts. The last time I didn't, last Tuesday when I didn't win the lottery. That's a rejection of sorts, I suppose. Slurpy Dave, have you got any jokes about rejection or lottery winnings? Now's the time to flash them up on screen. No? Oh, dear. That's a shame. I haven't got any lottery jokes either, to be fair, thinking about it. I'm going to enjoy a drink. What's that?
Okay. So yeah.
Normally, I'm quite good at like ad-libbing and filling in, but I seem to have completely lost the plot tonight, and I've run out of things to say. I should have elucidated on that point, but.
So, what was the last time you were rejected? Sorry, yeah, I could hear you.
I said something really boring, like not hearing back from job applications, of which I've made numerous this year. So that's kind of a rejection, isn't it? But I think that's the worst.
Okay, first car, and we'll go on.
First car was a red Vauxhall Astra 1.3, registration E819 DMX. Don't know why I remember that, I just do.
First mobile.
First mobile was, I don't know what it is because I didn't buy it. It was bought for me because all of my mates down the pub got fed up with not being able to get hold of me at various times, and they'd all end up phoning each other and going, "Have you seen Disco?" And so they all clubbed together and bought me one for my birthday, and it was one of those old kind of slightly brick-sized mobiles. So it was about, I think it was 2000 or maybe 2001, I think. No, 99 it was. Must have been. Yeah, it must have been 2000, 99, 2000 it was.
Okay. You don't remember all of it. Probably was Motorola then, was there, something like that? Yeah. Disco, or Slurpy has something about a joke about So when you're back in school, I'm probably asking you your favourite subject when you're back in school.
I'm not sure which one was the most, but geography and drama were my two favourites. The aforementioned drama, and also geography, because I just enjoyed reading about other places. I was travelling about the place a lot, and the teacher mostly let me get on with it in geography because I just worked through the workbook and was about 5 chapters ahead of everybody else, me and my mate Rob. So they were my two favourite subjects.
And a teacher that inspired you, if there was a teacher.
Yeah. The woman I mentioned earlier, she was Mrs. Henry then. She became Mrs. Smallman. Like I say, she's been on telly a lot recently. She waltzed into our drama class. We'd had quite a difficult year group, and she just stopped people messing about. She was quite an imposing, quite a strong character of a woman who she knew how to have fun. We had a laugh. We had a great laugh, but she was quite firm but fair. I wouldn't say strict, and she she taught us a lot. We did acting, improvisation, games, and I got an A in GCSE drama, so I enjoyed it, and she kind of inspired me, I suppose, at that stage.
Okay. Do you ever think of going on and pursuing drama then?
I looked at it doing it at college, but I think the only one they had, it was called theatre studies, and again, it was a little too much on the not the learning side, the academic side of it. There was too much writing essays about theatre productions and stuff like that, and a lot of singing, and I'm no good at singing, so I wasn't really up for all the singing. So I ended up doing, like I say, the boring spread, easier kind of. It was still a lot of academics, funnily enough, but that was less appealing at the time. I probably should have gone and done something else, but it wasn't really. Also, I think heavily influenced by my parents wanting to me do something academic rather than theatre.
Yeah. What's in your bucket list?
Buy a bucket.
Okay. No. When you need a bucket, what to put onto it?
Yeah, no, I don't have a particular must do by the time I'm whatever. I do like a list. I have that sort of analytical kind of brain. I do love a list and completing a list. I suppose my main two at the moment are probably 80 something into the current 92 football clubs in England, the English Football League. There's a 92 club where you've seen a game at every Football League club, of which there's 92. And with my team, I've done, I think it was 83. I think it's down to 81 now because a couple of teams got relegated. So of the current lot, and there's probably 20 or 30 more that have got relegated and other places I've been. But that's probably one, like I say, if we ever get to the Premier League, which might only be 2 seasons away. But that's something I'd like to do. I have a bizarre one of I'm 455 into the 872 Weatherspoons in the country, in the UK and Ireland. So I don't know why. There's a lot of people doing it, and there's a lot of people who have done it. But yeah, despite the whole everybody hates Weatherspoons at the moment, and the head man of Weatherspoons is a massive bellend, but I do like the pubs themselves because of the way they preserve old buildings like churches and banks and cinemas and theatres and stuff. So that's probably my 2 lists as such at the moment that I would want to complete.
Well, there's a Weatherspoons. I haven't been to it. It's open maybe a year. It's a good bit for me, but it's local enough to me, one of the main towns near me. So you'll probably have to do that one if you are to do all the ones in Britain.
Absolutely, yeah. No, we've been planning to come back to Ireland. I haven't done any of the ones in Ireland. I've sadly only been to Ireland once, but yeah. If I ever get there, I'll give you a shout.
They've opened a really big one in Dublin, I think. Yeah. Same that was no. Greatest strength you have.
Greatest strengths. Let me start. I'll answer Slurpy Dave's one there. What's your team? My team is Plymouth Argyle. Currently top of League One. I don't mind saying that because nobody really hates us apart from a few local teams. So, yeah. As for strengths, what is my greatest strength? I used to say drinking and driving, not like together, but separately, of course. But I've probably stopped. I probably don't drink so much now. I'm a bit older, so probably driving, I think, is my greatest ability, I suppose. Yeah.
So the next question has to be what's your greatest strength? What's your greatest weakness?
Temptation. I can resist anything except temptation. My greatest weakness. It is what appears to be laziness, but isn't. It's just an inability to get stuff done. Just that lack of willpower. Sometimes it's like, I could go and work and make that effort, or I could just not. I could do something else. But when I work, I do. I'm not afraid of a bit of hard work. Like, you know what I mean. But yeah, just making plans and not doing them. Really, that's more like in terms of like social life. Sorry, Thomas.
Lack of motivation then.
Yeah, it's not motivation, but just lack of It's like I used to say, all my get up and go's already got up and gone. You know, it's just like, yeah, I could do that, and sometimes I do. It's kind of very yin and yang. Very like sometimes I'll go and get loads of things achieved and done and get busy and work hard and that, and sometimes I just don't.
Okay. Dream job.
Billionaire philanthropist.
Okay.
Lottery winner. No, I don't have a dream job particularly. I probably would have liked to have done the driving a bit more. Like I did think like rally driver or racing driver would be kind of dream, I guess. But thank you, Phil. Just realised interviewing Disco, didn't recognise without the beard. Yeah, that fell off a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we got in the fight with our own more.
Live on Instagram as well. It's getting back. It's getting there. It's getting there.
Last lie you told. And you don't have to include this interview. Yeah.
So prior to this interview, that's a good one. I was going to say that. That's fair play. There must have been loads of like little white lies that I don't.
Yeah.
You don't even think of.
I want a really big one.
A really big lie. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think. I mean, no, I don't think. Honestly, I don't think there is. I mean, no, I don't think so. I don't think there's a massive lie. There's like loads of little white lies, like like why are you late, or like the alarm didn't go off, or whatever. And it's like
Yeah. Okay. Like I'll take that one then. Okay.
Yeah.
Last thing I googled.
Last thing I googled. Last thing I googled was probably actually Instagram. Oddly, because I always go into Instagram through Google. Just I don't know. For all my laziness, I don't have it set up to go straight in because when I'm on the laptop, like it's always there on my phone. But yeah, going into Google to find the StreamYard link for this was my last thing I actually Googled.
Okay, that's random. Yeah, what's Phil saying there? Sorry, I didn't get it.
Fair play. Oh, he's talking about the live where I trimmed the beard off. He said it was superb, especially when the cutthroat razor came out. That wasn't me. That was our man Jim. I had a trimmer, I had a hair trimmer, and just took it all off. Whereas he got the cutthroat razor out and actually clean shaved it all off. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, we'll go up to this one. Phil, you're on the list of people interviewed. That will be you ought to clear your Google history forward. Standing in front of your 16-year-old self, what advice would you give them?
Nothing. Bollocks to him. He can find his own way. 16-year-old me, he can find. He don't need no advice. He can find his own way. I never got no advice at 16. Well, I did. Actually, I probably got loads of advice at 16.
Advice. If you time travel from now to your 16, you would have advice.
I probably wouldn't have listened to myself anyway, like, you know. And I don't know. I don't think I would give him any advice because I've done okay. I've done all right. I've found my way in the world. I'm not like I'm neither, you know,
you wouldn't
rich
say
nor
a Bitcoin. You wouldn't say buy Tesla stock or Google stock and become a billionaire.
Do you know what? Yeah, that could be I don't know. Yeah, get into that. I hadn't thought of that, Thomas. That's a good show, actually. Yeah, maybe. But I don't think I've never been that great with like computers and tech. So again, I don't think I would have either believed it or listened. And when it come up, I would have thought everything to do with Bitcoin sounds like a scam. So I just ignore it. So I don't think I would listen for that anyway. But yeah, no, I think I maybe probably would have been tempted to say, when you get the working visa in New Zealand, get the 2-year one, not the 1-year one. That would have been interesting if I'd stayed in New Zealand for a bit.
Well, there you go. That's you found it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how would a friend describe you 3 words? And we won't go with a Rasko.
My friends are in 3 words. Not very good at adding up.
Okay, that's 3 words there.
No, 3 words. I don't know. Hopefully they'd say, they'd certainly say hairy. Would be one. I would hope they would say entertaining and interesting, but maybe not. Probably just be weird.
Okay. Hardest goodbye.
New Zealand, probably. Leaving New Zealand, even though I left because I had other things to do and around the world trip and that, but I could have stayed, very easily could have stayed. So yeah, saying goodbye to New Zealand, that was probably quite difficult.
Can I ask what year that was?
2008.
It's not too long ago.
It is. I always think of it as like about 5 years ago, but no, it's gone quick. The last 14 years.
Okay. We're going on the stranded on desert island. Who would you bring and what items?
Can I just? Did I just see Phil Smith there said, "I'm not looking forward to you asking me questions." So you're doing Phil Smith? Have you got him?
He's on the list. There's so many people on the list now to get to him.
Fair play, get him on. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Right. Who would you want to be stranded on a desert island? The second question there. What 3 items would you take? I was
by the way, I'll give you that the island is off the west coast of Ireland. Just
see that doesn't matter for my 3 things, to be fair, because I had an essay to do in detention, and I'm fairly certain I probably got another detention because I wrote something like I would take a fully stocked Sainsbury's supermarket and a speedboat, which would be handy off the west coast of Ireland because you could nip back to the mainland, and something like a shovel or something like that, or a first aid kit or something. And I don't think the teacher liked that very much because he said it was a bit like flippant and I was meant to do it seriously, and I've never answered questions seriously since, as you can tell. As for the person, this is going to get me in a lot of trouble, but I'm going to say Aisling B.
Okay, why?
She's funny, smart, clever, and very attractive.
Okay. Next one is, if money was no object, what would you do all day?
Spend it.
Okay, but what on?
Everybody.
Can I add to, don't think of yourself, because most people think of themselves. Think of the bigger picture.
Yeah, no, if money were no object, I would make sure my mates were okay and financially stable, at least, not like mega rich, but certainly pay off a few mortgages, like friends and acquaintances and whatever. level up a little bit, I suppose. Would I would be tempted to go in too in depth and say get a bit too political and say like set up a political party to provide political, judicial, and economic reform in this country so that everybody has enough money and I don't have to be distributing endless amounts of mythical money.
Okay. Ending, say, world hunger, ending world homelessness, things like that. And you would set up the companies. You wouldn't be giving it to governments. You would be doing it yourself.
I think it would be very difficult to. I mean, that's a very long-term thing in ending world hunger because the amount of money you have to make sure that it goes to the right place at the right time and doesn't get siphoned off. And I don't know, if money was no object, would I, try and change the system or just make sure everybody was okay? I don't know. I think it sounds nice and simple, but it wouldn't necessarily be as easy as all that.
Yeah, well, I think it's Elon Musk. I think one of the charities said if Elon Musk sold, I think it's 3% of his shares in Tesla.
Yeah, it was like $6 million or something. Or $6 billion or something.
Yeah, he said if you come back with a plan, I will sell the shares. So what do you think of that?
I think it's very canny because he said that knowing that he can bloody afford to do it. If somebody come back with such a stunning plan that he'd have to go, fair enough. I think he would be able to, and it wouldn't matter. I'm sure it was like $6 or $16 billion or something, and it's like you say, it's like 3% of his wealth. And I don't know what that plan would. If I knew what that plan would be, I'd be a very rich man right now, I suppose. But I think it's all very well for him to say, knowing that he probably doesn't have to do it. It's like it's trying to be clever, but I think a few people saw through that very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Is your glass half empty or half full? Just checking.
Now, I am a glass half empty optimist.
Okay.
Because if my glass is half empty, which mine roughly is around now, and my glass usually contains beer or some other tasty alcoholic beverage, that means if my glass is half empty, I'm halfway towards my next pint. And I'm always looking forward to my next pint. That makes me a glass half empty optimist, particularly if I can get somebody else to pay for it.
Okay. Introvert or extrovert?
Again, sorry to keep not answering questions properly, but I'm an introverted extrovert. So right now, I've had a beer, I'm with friends, I'm relaxed and comfortable. So I don't know, all these silly jokes, maybe I come across as a bit of an extrovert, but 9 o'clock on Monday morning or during the day when I haven't had a beer or whatever, I worry too much probably about what people think and what people do, and then say I don't care. So if I'm comfortable, I'm an extrovert. If I feel less comfortable or don't know people or whatever, then I'm probably a bit more introverted.
Okay. Craziest thing you've done for love? Get a good answer.
That's the only one I would probably have said to Swerve if I'd thought of it. I know I said that about everyone, didn't I? I again, like going back to like the crying thing, is like love is kind of. I don't think I've done anything that crazy. And okay, well, I'll answer. I suppose for the love of what? It depends what you mean by love in there. For like the love of music, I flew to Germany just to see one gig in the northernmost bit of Germany that nobody else, apart from the people I went with, would think of doing. And I only went for one night. There was like a string. They were gigging there all week, and it's like a band that nobody's ever heard of. And there was like 20 people in the room, kind of thing. So but I love the music, so I went. That's a way of getting out of that question.
Well, that's the answer. I never said anything about people. So drinks. What Shark says.
Well, that's my bucket list question. Yeah, fair play, Shark. We come back to that one. He said it because he was saying about smoked beers earlier. He said he doesn't like smoked beers. And I said, I've never drunk Sierra Nevada, ever, any. Just haven't bothered. So he said, you've got to do it. Rasko actually posted about Sierra Nevada the other day. He had a couple in his local. So he's tried them even before that. So we came to this sort of agreement with Shark that if I drank Sierra Nevada, he'd drink some smoked beers. So I believe
I've only had one or two now.
Oh yeah,
they're hard enough to get.
Yeah, I quite like them. So
your warning label, if you had
one. Will not answer questions properly. Maybe.
Your biggest fear then? Hi Vanessa. And hi Paul.
Hey, all right. Oi, Paul's in the house. My biggest fear?
Vanessa's in the house.
Oh, hello, Vanessa. Hiya. Biggest fear is probably, I don't know, not being liked, not being interesting enough to be liked, not being, yeah, that's probably the biggest fear. Okay. Aside from, I'm not afraid of dying, but I'm afraid of dying in abject pain and discomfort. That's probably quite a big fear, I guess. My warning, Shark says my warning label should be Rasko. Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah. I'll go back to most embarrassing moment then. I don't know if I asked that before. Yeah, again, it's fairly non-specific. Just probably. Yeah, that time in Germany was probably not the most embarrassment. Because I was personally embarrassed for myself, but nobody sort of saw it because I'd left. I just got out. Okay. Yeah, loads of little embarrassments, nothing major, I don't think. Okay. Most famous person you have met?
Right. So, my mate Braveheart. And we call him Braveheart, mostly because he comes from Scotland. He joined our football team, my Sunday football team, about 15 years back. He's a mate of a mate come down. Really decent footballer as it goes. And some of the lads, footballers aren't, the most inventive of things when it comes to nicknames. So because he was Scottish, they called him Braveheart.
Yeah.
And a couple of games in, he said, it's funny you should say that, actually. Because I'm an actor and I was actually in that film. And we went, what, Braveheart? He was like, oh, yeah. So he's all right. Well, what did you play? He said, I played the part of Braveheart. And the lads were like, no, mate, no, that was Mel Gibson. We've seen that film. That was Mel Gibson. He said, no. At the start of the film, there's a wee boy, the young William Wallace. That was me at the start of the film, Braveheart. I was 13. And we looked at it. He showed us all these photographs of drinking. He was drinking a can of Pepsi on set with Mel Gibson. And it was clearly him. I've seen the photographs. And so that was like 25 years ago. So he's probably the least famous person I've ever met. And one Sunday, we was a bit short of players. And he said, I'll bring my pal down. He said, okay, bring him down. Yeah, can he play? Yeah, he's right. So I was sub that day. In the end, we had enough players. And Braveheart's mate was sub. And it turned out to be... I'm now not sure which. This is why I was Googling earlier, the band McFly. So I think it was the drummer out of McFly. Was his mate, because he moved in showbiz circles because he were an actor. And he brought his mate from McFly down to play football with us on a Sunday afternoon in a pissing rain in southwest London. So I suppose I should say the guy from McFly, whoever he is or was. It's fairly famous, right? Have you heard of the band McFly?
I've heard of the band.
You have, right? So yeah,
I've heard of the film Braveheart, which most Irish people have actually been in because it was filmed in Ireland.
Oh, it was filmed in Trim, wasn't it? It was filmed in Trim Castle.
No, it was on the Curragh, most of it, because that's it's flat land and it's all kind of common.
Yeah, I mean, it was filmed all over, but the scene. I've been to Trim Castle the one time I went to Ireland, and I'm sure he told me it was yeah. So yeah, the wee boy at the start of that film is my pal Braveheart.
What's that? Paul.
Was a better footballer than he was a half decent footballer, to be fair. And I don't really know that much about McFly. I'm sure there's a couple of decent songs in there somewhere. So.
Well, he's making a living out of it, so you can't.
Oh, he's doing all right. Yeah, you can't knock him, can you?
If you could pick up a new skill, what skill would you pick up?
I think I'd like to learn more languages, or the ability to learn more languages, because I'm fairly terrible at learning new stuff anyway. But yeah, I'd like to be able to. I'd like to complete learning German, because I didn't really pay attention at school. We had to pick a language, and I disliked German slightly less than French, and I found it easier. So I'd like to. I got a smattering of German, but I'd like to learn more about that. I'd like to learn Welsh, oddly, mostly because of family connections. But I know a few Welsh people, and it's a strange language, but one I'd quite like to learn and like to go there more. And
I'm back.
And you're back. And I'd also like to learn British Sign Language as well.
Okay,
it'd be handy, I think.
That's very unique. Why British Sign Language?
I think it would. Yeah, I think it would just be. It would be useful. It would be interesting. It would be like if I could learn languages, that would be the third one. Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be useful. I think it'd be interesting. I don't know when I would actually use it necessarily, but it would be useful to know at least. You know.
Okay. First person on your pick list. Roscoe.
Depending on what we hit them with, I would say a big wet salmon, but that would be a waste of salmon. But I would probably perm anyone from about 12 in the current government, I think, of the UK. Okay. There's a lot of. I know you shouldn't say that, and obviously with the recent occurrences, but if it involved some kind of blancmange or non-shoot to kill policy, then yeah, probably any one of half a dozen or a dozen in the government, I think.
Okay. I suppose next question is most illegal thing you've ever done, if you can answer it.
I think I've always liked to stay mostly on the right side of the law, apart from the odd bit of driving over 30 miles an hour in a built-up area that everyone does, I assume. Probably the most illegal, and I don't know how illegal it was. It just felt very illegal. I did once go to an illegal rave in northwest London. It felt fair. I mean, I'm sure it's probably like loads of people had done that, so it's not unique. But it was the only time I did. We went to, we'd come out of our pub 2:00 in the morning, went to a student party with some of the bar staff, and met this guy who gave us this text number. We text this number, me and my mate found a location, got a cab about 4:00 in the morning to Stone. Have you heard of the Ace Cafe? So like a well-known cafe in London. It's like a biker's cafe on North Circular Road. And it's on an old industrial unit from the back of this. And we went there, and there were some proper dodgy people there, you know what I mean? And no doubt, if I'd asked, there was some proper dodgy drugs going around as well. But I spent the rest of the night drinking vastly overpriced Kronenberg and dancing my tits off. And then we came out about 8:00 in the morning, and there was all these police officers standing around. There's all this plod, and we're like, "Oh, like, are we in trouble? Are we like about to get arrested? Is this how illegal is this? I don't know." And it was like, so we went to the Ace Cafe for breakfast. We had a fire. Policeman's never said nothing. Came back, an hour later, and then we're still outside, and we could still hear the music doom, 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 coming out of this warehouse. So like my mate went up to the policeman. He said, "What's going on here then?" Like pretending we didn't know nothing. And the policeman wouldn't say. And it's like, "Oh, is this illegal?" And they were like, "Oh, we're not doing anything about it at the moment. We haven't got the resources." So my mate says, "Is it okay to go back in then?" We went back in and carried on like drinking and partying for another couple of hours. So I don't know how illegal it was, but the police never done nothing. But it felt proper naughty at the time.
Yeah, police officers just stay outside. If anything happens, we're there. Didn't have enough. The next question is kind of more of a round question. What do you think of the beer tube community, if there is such a thing?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I just see Rampant Lion popped in the comments there saying, "Who's this one?" I don't know. I don't know if he got in time to hear my Braveheart impression, but yeah. So, well, he's one of the bit tubing community. Generally, I've never had any problem. It's all been pretty good, like, and everyone's been proper nice on live streams and that. And I say we don't sort of get. I'm always in the comments on live streams, and like I've joined various people and that, and it's all generally pretty good. You know what I mean? If you're nice, people are nice. That's just the way it goes, really.
Do you consider yourself a member of this kind of community, or creators, or whatever you want to put this label on it? I don't like labels, but
well, yeah, I mean, member is sort of like it's like a club without any actual membership as such, and you don't join, you just be there.
Well, it's kind of a label I put on people who put this stuff out there, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're generally all here for a good time, mostly, like by varying degrees or whatever. So that's what we do. We'll have a good time. We have a few jokes. Just like if we'd all met up in the pub. I mean, it might be different if we had all met up in the pub or whatever and see like how well we'd got on then. Okay. I think it'd be all right.
Question should be up there. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be? It would be probably like a 5-course meal, I think, so that there'd be leftovers and you could eat them like all day. I wouldn't have just one meal at a time. I don't know. It'd be something like quite a big starter, like a platter, and then just maybe all the different meats on a pizza.
Okay.
Lots of cheese. And then, yeah, so it'd be like an eight, like a 10-slice pizza with loads of different meats on all the slices and stuff like that. A bit of garlic bread, some roasty potatoes, and then some massive like multi-dessert of tiramisu, Black Forest Gatto kind of thing. I like my food. I do like my food, as you can probably tell.
So that will be for every day you would have that kind of 5-course meal for dinner.
Well, you see, the way I've gone there is multi-part meal so that you can like chop and change. You know what I mean? So like you can carry like, a bit of pizza for breakfast one day, or just like maybe eat the bacon for breakfast one day. You know what I mean? Like mix and match.
Okay. If you could share a meal with 4 individuals who are dead, we'll go with family and friends in one group, and then we'll go with celebrities.
Okay, so well, I think so. Is that 4 separate groups?
Yeah, no, 4.
3 separate groups.
Yeah, 2 separate groups: family and friends, and celebrities.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. So, yeah, family and friends. I don't know. I mean, like, I wish I'd spoke to my granddad more about, serving in the war, I suppose. So probably probably all 4 of my grandparents, really, because I probably didn't speak to them enough about the things that mattered, I guess. I think I was 8 when my grandfather died, so I would like to have quizzed him more about the war. Whether he would have told me or not, I don't know. He left a few mementos and stuff, but probably something like that for family. My other granddad I never knew, so definitely me mother's granddad. So celebrities living or dead?
No, dead. Sorry.
Dead celebrities, right? Dead celebrities. Yeah. Isambard Kingdom Brunel.
Okay.
Just interesting, engineering and stuff like that. I have no idea why Frankie Howard has just popped into my brain, because that's how my brain works, or doesn't, for no apparent reason. So let's go Frankie Howard. Ronnie Corbett. Let's go Ronnie Corbett. And I don't know why. Marilyn Monroe. I tried not to think about that and just had random celebrities pop into my head. So Isambard Kingdom Brunel, Frankie Howard, Ronnie Corbett, and Marilyn Monroe.
So 3 males and 1 female. That's interesting.
Yeah. Living celebrities would be a different matter.
Okay.
Living celebrities would be Ashlyn B, Kaylee Kuoko, Sheridan Smith, and Rhea Chatterjee off of ITV News.
Again, a very selective.
Yeah, a little bit niche.
Yeah, what think the conversation would be about if you were chatting with them?
Oh, gee. Well, I think the dead celebrities would be fairly comedy based. Like I say, Ronnie Corbett, I appreciate the humour and comedy, and that would be fun. Yeah, I think it would be a reasonably broad subject matter between celebrity and engineering. Bit random, I suppose. Yeah, he was a celebrity in his own right of his day in the 1800s. So.
Okay. If you were a superpower, or if you're a superhero, what superpower would you have?
I would think I would try to have, if it is a superpower, I'm not sure, it would be a cross between 007 License to Kill and the Quentin Tarantino's cleanup squad from Pulp Fiction. Rare that I get a film reference in, so probably that. I'm not sure that's a superpower, really. That's just like a, like a demand. Yeah.
Where people are murdered.
Okay. Yeah. That's quite dark, isn't it? That's quite dark. So maybe let's just say mind reading.
Yeah. Okay, that's a more interesting one. A favorite place in the world.
Outside of the UK, I probably would have to say New Zealand. I know I've said it before, but yeah. If I could live anywhere else, it would be anywhere else, because I'd love to just live some random places in the UK. Do you know what I mean? Or even Ireland. Just, rock up in a small town and just stay there and see what happens if you could. But if not, New Zealand is definitely the place for me. It's just brilliant there. It's like everything about the UK, but with slightly better weather, or rather more extremes of weather. And you've got every type of geographical feature there. You've got deserts, you've got beaches, you've got mountains, you've got tropical areas. Just, they've got everything there, really.
Okay. Next question is kind of weird. Not like any other questions aren't weird here. If you got an envelope with your day you're going to die,
when you said weird, I'm thinking, Thomas, they've all been fairly mad. But no, that's a new one, isn't it? That's good. I like that. Yeah. If the open envelope, there's a date for death inside. I don't. Wow. That is left field. That is proper out of the blue left field. My first instinct is to say no. I don't think I'd want to know. I think I just want to crack on with the business of enjoying it and hoping for the best. You know what I mean? What if, I don't know, that's the thing. Like, what if that date was like next week? You'd want to know if it was like next week, wouldn't you? I don't know. So you could get a lot of shit done in a week. I don't know. I think I'd say no, because I'm quite, like I say, I'm quite okay with death, as long as it's not like horrendously painful or uncomfortable. So yeah, I don't think I need to know the date. I think I just get on with it. I think. Okay. That's a good question, Thomas. That is the best. That is one of the best questions you've come up with, I think. I like that.
Would you be friends with yourself?
No, I'm an arsehole. I'd hate me. I don't like me at the best of times. So I said without thinking there, didn't I? Yeah, I think so. I'm all right. I get on with most people. I like a laugh, like a beer. If I bought myself a beer, I'd be happy. Do you know what I mean? I'd be all right, I think.
Okay. What is knowledge?
Knowledge is the accumulation and understanding and retention of facts and details.
Okay. What is intelligence?
Intelligence is the use of those facts and details in the best. Sorry, I've just thought of that. What's that old saying? And was it knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit? Intelligence is not putting it in a fruit salad.
Okay, what's the difference between the two of them?
Yeah, so I think, knowledge is the things that you know, like details and facts and substantial things. And intelligence is the use of that knowledge and how you apply it and what you do with it, I think.
Okay. If you were to go to space knowing that you wouldn't come back, would you go?
No, I'm not a big fan of flying, particularly. I'm not a big fan of G-force. Like, I don't go on roller coasters, so I don't think I'd fancy the trip into space. And knowing that I couldn't come back, I do quite like Earth, wherever I am, this country, for all its faults. It's where I am. So yeah, no, I don't think I would go into space. And I don't know. I mean, depending on what's there. I mean, have they sorted out the whole, like, you know, being able to live on another planet in some kind of idyllic luxury or whatever there may be, but at the moment, no.
Okay, sorry. Here we go. If you could choose to be an animal, what would you be?
A penguin.
And why?
I don't know. I don't know. I just said penguin because I don't know. Sort of, that's a toy I've had, a cuddly toy I've had since I was like 5 or something. So it's probably over 40 years old. So I don't know. Penguins have quite a tough life, don't they? Standing out in the cold and that. But yeah, they're kind of cute, I suppose. The thought of them is kind of cute. Everybody thinks penguins are fairly cute. Whether I'd like it or not, I think probably cat. Probably cats have quite an idyllic life. Do you know what I mean? Eating, sleeping, exploring. Probably cat, I think.
That's if you're a domestic cat, I suppose.
For sure, yeah. See, yeah, I'm thinking about my cat who's like, she's got not luxury, she just doesn't really want for anything, so she's all right. Like, yeah, if I had somewhere to live in.
What song describes your life right now?
What song?
Yeah.
a song by this band, actually. Of the t-shirt, it's Band's T-shirts Day or something. So I bought this band who I keep trying to catch Paul and Crummy out within the messages when they talk about me. It's a band called the Slow Readers Club. They're from Manchester, up and coming band, or they've been about for a while. And they have a song called Lunatic. So I'm going to go with that one. Nobody else will have ever heard of that thing, so it's probably an irrelevant reference, but you know.
Which of Snow White's dwarfs are you?
That's another new one. That's well, at school, as part of was it part of GCSE drama or was it before? In the school pantomime, I actually played one of the dwarfs, and I played, despite being like even then nearly 6 foot or whatever, I played Grumpy the dwarf, and that's probably fairly apt, I suppose. I can be as grumpy as I can be happy, so probably maybe I'll edge Grumpy.
Okay.
That's harsh. I've just seen Grumpy's comment. I look like a budget penguin fancy dress. That's fucking harsh. When do you see penguins with a beard and a hat and a band T-shirt? I'm going to have to think of a reply to that now, Crummy. I see where he's going, but
what is the strangest gift you've ever received?
Every year for a while, like I'm not big into Christmas and all that blah blah blah. So me and my mate Duncan, we used to do a thing where we'd, like, because everybody used to fuss around Christmas, we like, blokes weren't into all that, so we used to do silly presents. So we'd set a theme, so it'd be like the most ridiculous thing made out of metal, or like the cheapest thing made out of wood or something. So there was one year I made a rocking chair out of lollipop sticks, glued it all together. Clothes pegs, wooden clothes pegs. And we used to exchange presents up the pub on Christmas Day. And he genuinely wrapped a 6 foot Christmas tree and gave it to me on Christmas Day. because it was made out of wood, and that was the thing, the most useless thing made out of wood. And he gave it to me on Christmas Day. Nobody needs a Christmas tree on Christmas Day. Everybody's bought a Christmas tree by then and put it up. I mean, I don't bother because it don't bother me. So I slammed it in the back of the car, and that Christmas tree stayed in my car for 5 years. Again, just, I don't know, oddly laziness, but I never had to buy a Pine Fresh magic tree. It always smelled quite nice. And even when I got rid of the car, I was still picking pine needles out of the damn boot. So that was pretty weird, I think.
What's the strangest gift you've ever given?
Yeah, I've said that all in one. Yeah, a rocking chair made out of clothes pegs, and I said it was useless because it didn't rock. Because I'm not that good at that kind of crafty stuff, and it was a bit wonky, so it didn't actually rock.
Okay. I suppose what's next for Rasko and Disco, the channel? What's coming up in the next year?
I don't know. We're sort of just going to kind of push on, really, and carry on as we are. We've got, like I say, we got a few ideas. We want to go on to maybe do the show on YouTube. Rasko's a bit fed up with Instagram. It's a little bit glitchy and stuff. We've carried on Instagram because, like I say, we got nearly 700 followers there. And Instagram is much better for telling people that you're live, so more people kind of see it. Whereas YouTube's a little bit hit and miss. I think it does put reminders up, and you can set it up for the reminder. But we've kind of stayed with it. So Rasko wants to come on and do a bit more on YouTube. We want to get more videos. We don't do enough like piece to camera beer reviews. It's a bit of a Gerald Ratner thing to say, but I sort of don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy doing them because I'm sort of too much of a perfectionist, and I get halfway along and think I'm talking rubbish here and turn the video off. And I've got loads of undone videos, loads of footage that will never, see the light of day. So Rasko and Disco only cans. Oh, that's clever. Yeah, only cans. I've got a few of them. That's another thing. I was going to do a video. I had a great idea for a video where I just lined up all the cans that I drunk for a year. All the cans and bottles. I was just going to do like a sweeping shot of like a year of lockdown beers. Never got round to it, so I might eventually get that done. Maybe I'll get the 2-year one done. I don't know. But yeah, just carry on enjoying it really, and hope to get more videos out.
Highlight of the year then, doing the channel. What's your highlight of the year?
The highlight of this year, or highlight of the channel?
We'll go with this year. Yeah.
This year was this year was a bit difficult. With not really going anywhere. I suppose like the guests we've had on, like getting breweries is always good. Like Cameron from Turning Point Brewery agreed to come on. I think that's probably the biggest brewery we've had. So that was probably, that was a high point. The guys from Pivo Bar in London, the Czech bar in London, was quite a good video. We had a lot of fun. They showed it. They did it live from the bar, so they showed us around the bar. Like, obviously, I was at home and stuff. So, it's a bit difficult, like doing stuff from home. I haven't really been out anywhere still, so that was probably some of the highlights. Yeah, getting breweries on for a chat, getting beers in.
Do you enjoy the kind of the festivals and going out then more than the? Is that a highlight kind of thing, or do you enjoy that more?
Well, sure, it would be. I mean, it's what we started off. Like, if you look through our grid on YouTube, all of the early videos were just me and Rasko. We'd clearly had a few beers, and we'd had a few beers. We was just doing like beer at a festival, reviewing beers as we were drinking them at festivals and pubs. We didn't really do any piece to camera beer review, so that was kind of what we started out doing. We'd like to get back to that, definitely. Getting out, as I'm sure everybody else would, and those that have. So yeah, getting out and about would be the aim.
Okay, what's your beer and food pairing then? What do you go for when you're having a few beers?
I don't, to be honest, that much because because of the way I've grown up drinking, I'm like a social drinker and maybe a bit of a binge drinker. So I tend to separate the two. I'll have food and then I'll go out for a drink. I don't have a particular pairing. Now and again, I think probably the best one is probably a medium curry with a little bit of spice on it, followed by a really good chocolate stout, a nice smooth, creamy chocolate stout to take off the chili. Yes, crummy disco crisps. That is, I did do that actually. I did that last year with the disco beers. I got a pack of disco crisps in. So yeah, that's a good idea. Cheers, Phil. Thank you.
Disco crisps.
I think they are still around. Yeah, I got a selection pack of them last year when I paired them with the disco beers I did on Disco Day. I haven't seen them, but then I haven't really looked for them particularly.
Okay, I suppose you know yourself better than me, and what question or what area have I missed? Because we're coming up to the end of this chat.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's got to be something I kind of missed on. What have I missed
on? The only one I can think of, and obviously having seen probably mostly all of the 30 odd that you've done of these, the only other question I had prepared for, well, it was probably the music, and probably there's a question I've seen you do other people of can you do accents? So I had prepared a monologue for that.
Okay,
but I'm happy if you know. I'm happy. Well, I've done my Scottish, haven't I? I already did my Braveheart, so maybe that's enough accents for now.
I think that one got caught. I went through the questions there during the week, and I caught and add questions differently. So
that's fine because you put the envelope question. I really enjoyed the envelope question, the date of death envelope. That is a good one to pop in. So a nice surprise.
Okay, I think that's about it. Unless you have any questions, I don't really answer questions if you've noticed.
Well, I mean, what would it take? What would it take for one of us to get you on to answer these questions? Maybe on our stream, or maybe what would those set of circumstances like?
Me winning the lotto. There you go.
Have you bought a ticket?
No.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably, I probably said more than I intended to, but it has been fun. I see Crumby wants to interview there. I know he said that last week. That's why I mentioned it. So, do you know what? If you like you said to me at the start, you only answer what you want to answer, really. So, I'm sure we could all think of a few questions and get the list together. But you said you're doing the 5 questions as well for your Christmas stream.
Yeah, there's a Christmas part. I call it a Christmas party, whatever. So get people on, ask 5 questions, which I've asked the people. And we say, so I'll have numerous people on for say about 10 minutes, and then play the clips of people who are not able to come on. So that'll be on December 3rd. So that's the kind of Christmas. It's something I thought of. I don't know if it will work.
Yeah, we can all play that. I'll do that.
Yeah, well, I'll just have to buy me lotto tickets then so I can win the lotto. Or you can just send me loads of beer and see if I get lots of beer. Maybe I'll get drunk one night and you can answer me.
Oh, I did see one the other day. You asked me that on a stream the other week.
About
any beers with window in the name, and I did see, and then I forgot about it somehow. There was a Whiplash beer I saw on a site in Ireland that had window in it.
I look it up. Now I look up it Untapped. I searched Untapped window kind of, and
it wasn't. Sorry, go on.
It came up, well, I searched it on Untapped, and it came up with a few in the UK. I didn't come up with anything. I searched Whiplash there when we finished this and see which one. Because I forget.
I didn't see it. It wasn't on Whiplash's website, so I don't think it was a current one. But it was a .ie website. It was something like beer cellar or beer something.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was a Whiplash beer called something window. I'm sorry, I've forgotten it now. That would have been a great anecdote if only I could remember the bloody beer.
I'm useless with names, remembering them.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I hadn't seen Alameda in the comments. Alameda. Greetings, sir.
Yeah.
Good day.
Okay, I've taken 2 hours of your time.
It's been a pleasure, sir.
You.
It's been absolute fun. It's been no problem at all.
If anyone doesn't follow you, I guess most people do, go over to Instagram and follow Disco and Rasko.
Thank you.
I forgot to put the link in. If someone, I think everyone here does follow you. Anyone not watching on the replay, so go find them, follow them. One of the best YouTube channels and one of the best Instagram pages. And I will see you sometime next week. I will be doing a live. And yeah, we'll say goodbye.
We'll see you around in it. Cheers, Thomas. Thanks, everyone.